grows out of my last book in much the same way that You Just Don't Understand grew out of the book that preceded it. My first general audience book, That's Not What I Meant, introduced my concept of conversational style and illustrated its power in every aspect of our daily lives. Of the book's 10 chapters, the one that got the most attention and the most enthusiastic response was the chapter devoted to conversations between women and men. That led me to turn my research to the topic of male-female communication and to write, You Just Don't Understand, Women and Men in Conversation. In a parallel way, of the 9 chapters in I Only Say This Because I Love You, a book about adult family relationships, the one that got the most attention was I'm Still Your Mother. And the parts that most captivated readers were those devoted to the complex and superloaded relationship between mothers and adult daughters. Prompted by this response, as well as by my desire to get to the bottom of my evolving relationship with my own mother, I turned my research to conversations between mothers and daughters in order to delve more deeply into this uniquely intense relationship, one that continues to evoke powerful emotions long after it has ceased, ostensibly, to be the center of our personal lives. Much of what I say about mother-daughter conversations is also true of talk between mothers and sons, fathers and daughters, and fathers and sons. By focusing on daughters and mothers, I do not mean to deny this. I have not conducted a comparative study. As a professor of linguistics specializing in sociolinguistics, I use a case study method in my research. Reflecting the linguistic part of sociolinguistics, I base many of my findings on close analysis of transcribed, tape-recorded conversations. Reflecting the socio side, I also analyze conversations I am party to or overhear, much as some sociologists or anthropologists, like fiction writers, become observers and analysts of the interactions around them. Many of the examples I present are reconstructed from interactions I took part in, overheard, or was told about. Any conversation I encounter, with people I know or have just met, is a potential source of examples, as women who hear the topic of my book often volunteer their own experiences. The foundation of my research, however, is close analysis of transcribed audio-taped conversations. In this book, too, I analyze word-for-word transcriptions of conversations that were tape-recorded by students in my classes in connection with written assignments they handed in as part of their coursework and gave me permission to use. I also arranged to have more focused conversations, interviews you might call them, with women I knew and women they knew, in order to hear in more depth about their experiences with their mothers and daughters. When I talked to someone in person, I audiotaped the conversation and had it transcribed. When I talked to someone over the phone, I wore headphones and typed notes as we spoke. And when interchanges took place on email, I printed them. In several cases, I spoke to a mother and then, separately, to her daughter, or vice versa. In 2 instances, I talked to groups of women together at meals hosted by women I knew to which they had generously invited friends I did not know. My interviews, conversations really, because I did not ask a preset series of questions, included women of a range of ages, races, and ethnic groups. But I did not attempt to make generalizations about members of groups, so I don't specify the race or ethnicity of women whose experiences I include in, although many of the examples I present come from Asian American and African American, as well as European American women, and, for that matter, from deaf as well as hearing women, and lesbian as well as straight women. I never use an example without getting permission from the person who was its source, so that people will speak freely to me, and simply as a matter of integrity, using my students, friends, and family as sources of data might otherwise seem somewhat vulturish. I always let people see how I intend to use their life experiences in order to make sure that I got them right and to confirm whether they want to be identified by name or pseudonym. Pseudonyms are always first name only. When I identify the source of an example, I use both first and last names. My analyses of the examples I present are based on insights and concepts I've developed over the quarter-century that I've been doing academic research since receiving my doctorate in linguistics at the University of California, Berkeley. All the concepts I introduce here, as well as explanations of my research methods, are developed in more technical detail in academic publications. Anyone interested can find references on my website, www.deborahtannen.com. When asked why I decided to write for general readers instead of sticking to academic articles and books, I typically respond, I wanted to write books that my mother could read. When I say this, my mother stands for the general reader who would never pick up a scholarly book, regardless of how much the topic interested her. But my mother also stands for my mother, the person who is, on some level, the first audience for all my accomplishments, the ultimate judge of all my deeds. That my mother died while I was writing this book made the task of writing it in many ways harder, but it also made it more urgent. The book became a way to honor her memory as it forced me to examine the enormous impact she has had and continues to have on every aspect of my life. Acknowledging this impact in turn reinforced the importance of understanding and improving conversations between daughters and mothers. 1. Can we talk? Mothers and daughters in conversation. My daughters can turn my day black in a millisecond, says a woman whose 2 daughters are in their 30s. Another woman tells me, sometimes I'll be talking on the phone to my mom and everything's going fine. Then all of a sudden she'll say something that makes me so mad I just hang up. Later I can't believe I did that. I would never hang up on anyone else. But I also hear comments like these. No one supports me and makes me feel good like my mother. She's always on my side. And from the mother of a grown daughter, I feel very lucky and close with my daughter, and particularly since I didn't have a close relationship with my mother, it's very validating for me and healing. Mothers and daughters find in each other the source of great comfort, but also of great pain. We talk to each other in better and worse ways than we talk to anyone else. And these extremes can coexist within the same daughter-mother pairs. 2 sisters were in an elevator in the hospital where their mother was nearing the end of her life. How will you feel when she's gone? One asked. Her sister replied, One part of me feels, how will I survive? The other part feels, ding dong, the witch is dead. The part of a daughter that feels, how will I survive, reflects passionate connection. Wanting to talk to your mother can be a visceral, almost physical longing, whether she lives next door, in a distant state, in another country, or if she is no longer living on this earth. But the part that sees your mother as a wicked witch, a malevolent woman with magical power, reflects the way your anger can flare when a rejection, a disapproving word, or the sense that she's still treating you like a child causes visceral pain. American popular culture, like individuals in daily life, tends to either romanticize or demonize mothers. We ricochet between everything I ever accomplished I owe to my mother and every problem I have in my life is my mother's fault. Both convictions come laden with powerful emotions. I was amazed by how many women, in the midst of emails telling me about their mothers, wrote, I am crying as I write this. Women as mothers grapple with corresponding contradictions. The adoration they feel for their grown daughters, mixed with the sense of responsibility for their well-being, can be overwhelming, matched only by the hurt they feel when their attempts to help or just stay connected are rebuffed or even excoriated as criticism.